Yo, welcome back to Inside the Lunchbox with your boy Chef MaQ. Here once again with the famous, infamous, the man, the myth, the legend.
The almighty button pusher, as I was recently called, actually, in real life, around other people. Chris turns to me and he says, you know what? He's a real good button pusher. I was like, see? Chris is finally on board with my role in the podcast.
And I only say that because he is a really good button pusher. But he's also a real good host as well. Don't you guys agree? I know you guys would if this was a live audience. We would get thousands of applause.
Thousands. Let me see if there's a button around here for that somewhere.
We would get a standing ovation.
Yeah!
So
No, I actually ran into people this week at the VFW cook-off who actually listened to our podcast, and they were just talking about our back and forth, our conversation topics, how good we sound. I'm just like, it's great.
I've definitely came across a couple of people outside of the VFW
Really?
that also listens to our podcast, and one of the guys was actually with me in the academy.
Nice.
And he's like, "Oh man, you're the one that does that." He's like, "Yeah, I've heard a couple of episodes. It's really, really, really good." So we're reaching people.
Yeah, that's great.
In small numbers, but it's okay.
Yeah. No, it was also good to see Byron at the VFW cook-off.
Shout out to Byron and the Whistle Network, and we have a lot of things coming in the near future with him as well. But back up a little bit, man. How was your week?
My week was good. I actually got to go see the Nickelback in concert.
Nice.
That was really good. The girlfriend got the tickets, paid the whole way, went down there, had a good time. Good times had by all.
Okay.
I stopped listening to Nickelback after I turned 2021, but apparently she has been just this massive fangirl her whole life. So she was absolutely enjoying it. There was probably about 4 songs there that I sang along with because I knew them from because it was an hour-long show at the rodeo, and that's a whole other topic. That's a whole topic about the Houston rodeo. I did not know that they put 4-year-old children on giant sheep and race them. And you have a crowd of 75,000 people cheering.
Yes.
Cheering for the 4-year-olds to see how far they can go.
That was your first rodeo, right?
It was my first Houston rodeo. Now, I went to rodeos as a kid growing up in New Mexico and Colorado.
Okay,
My dad used to be a bull rider, so I might have been to maybe 2 rodeos as a kid.
Yeah, the Houston rodeo is one of the best in the country.
No, I mean, I've only been in NRG Stadium one other time for a monster truck rally. So it was quite the experience. I really appreciated it. Had a good time. And then we had the cook-off at the VFW. Which apparently there's a lot of people out there with very strong opinions on whether or not beans go in chili. And not only that, what type of beans go in chili?
What type of beans is very important.
Talk to me, Chris.
So if you ask anybody in Texas chili is chili with no beans.
Yeah, Texas is wrong on a few things. That's one of them.
I'm from Texas, but don't get me wrong. I love chili without beans. And I love chili with beans. Yeah. My personal, I'm really a fan of chili with beans.
And what kind of beans do you put in your chili, Chris?
Be honest with you? You want me to be honest with you?
Yeah.
It depends on
how
I
lie
feel.
to me, Chris.
So it depends. So I like to try new things. So I've had put pinto beans, which that's what's supposed to go in chili, right? I've had put kidney beans.
Yeah, red kidney beans. That's what actually goes in chili.
I've actually put a mixture of kidney beans, black beans. I've put a mixture of all other beans in there just to see what flavor I get.
Yeah, black beans would be great in chili.
And black beans are really, really good. Black beans are very delicious in chili. Yeah. Really good. But if you're here in Texas, do not tell them that beans go in chili or you will be marked for death. Yeah. Or you will be exiled from this state.
There's strong opinions on that. And so I'm from New Mexico, but my mom's family is from Michigan, and that's where a lot of the family recipes come down from. It's from Michigan, so we would take these Michigan, or as someone at the VFW called me, Yankee recipes, and we would add New Mexico flavors to them, and they'd be like, "What does that even mean?" I'm like, "Sweet green chili, hot green chili peppers, things like that." But chili, as I grew up, was served in a pot, and it had red kidney beans in them. Because they're hard, right? They're harder. They're thicker beans. Yeah. They don't squish and become like this mush inside the chili like pinto beans do. Yes. Pinto beans mush easily. Yes. And that's why you mush them and make them into refried beans. Then you put those refried beans on tortillas.
So you're saying that the only way to cook a pinto bean is refried beans and that's it.
So when God gave us pinto beans, he had a dish in mind. That's why he made them so mushable.
Okay.
Refried beans.
Refried beans. I could see that. Maybe that's the reason why refried beans exist.
Yeah.
It's because of pinto beans.
The Almighty.
Almighty
deemed it so.
But I also had black refried beans.
No,
black
yeah,
beans,
that's good too.
And oh my God, man, I had those for the first time a couple of years ago, and different, but really, really good. Yeah. Really, really good. And it kind of scared me because they're black as crap when you're finished. Like they're dark. They're not like a brownish color. Mm-hmm. They're like really dark.
They're really dark, yeah.
And I didn't know like what it was at first. I was like, "What kind of bean is this?" And it's like, "Oh, it's black beans." I was like, all right." And I tried it, and it was really delicious. So let's just back up a little bit. Let's talk about what they had at the chili cook-off. They had chili, was a competition. Anything smaller than the bean inside your chili. And then they also had beans, but it had to be a pinto bean.
Oh, it had to be a pinto bean?
It had to be a pinto bean. It couldn't be any other bean but a pinto bean. Yeah. So they had that. And then they had the Bloody Mary competition. And then they had an open where you could cook anything you want, but it had to be something green because it was St. Patrick's Day. Or was it?
It was the day before, but this is the day before, the VFW celebrated it. Yeah.
And the food turned out really, really well.
Oh, yeah. No, everything I tried there was good. I didn't know that they had to be pinto beans, but I guess it makes sense. If you're having a cook-off competition where you're giving away prizes, you have to, like, limit the scope. Otherwise... Someone could come in there with, like, in my case, red kidney beans and just blow the competition out of the water because it's just the better bean. So the reason why we backed up a little bit, I was going to ask you, so when you went to your specific booth that you liked their chili, I could have sworn I saw you take the pinto beans and put it inside your chili. Did you do that? I didn't. I had two different cups.
Okay.
But the post commander did.
Oh, the post
commander, after she got her cup of chili, and she tried it, she was like, "Ooh, that's good." She then took a bunch of beans, almost knocked over the microphone, and put them in the chili and mixed it up. And
so I actually did that too, and it was freaking delicious.
Like I bet
it enhanced the flavor. I was like, "Oh my God, this is good!" Like they definitely need to put these beans in this chili next time.
Oh yeah, for real.
But that's not part of the competition.
Yeah,
so. What we were talking about,
which might need to petition the VFW, like put beans in the chili.
Exactly. So, like I said, when you're in Texas, they strongly believe that chili does not come with beans. I like beans either way. Depends on what it is. Sometimes I want an all meat chili. Sometimes I want beans and chili. But I firmly believe that you should also try different beans in your chili.
Oh yeah,
like kidney beans.
Kidney beans, black beans, black eyed peas.
Yeah.
I'm not picky when it comes to beans. Like I'll try almost all of them. I'll try mixing them up and try different things. It's just that maybe it's just because I grew up with kidney beans in my chili because it was more of a Michigan recipe because where my family's from.
Yeah.
But it's just the texture. They hold together. They stay together in the chili better.
Yeah.
They don't fall apart like the pinto beans. The pinto beans started coming apart real quick inside the chili.
So, I agree 100%. Now, so while we were doing the chili cook-off, an interesting topic came up.
Oh, yeah.
We were talking about different sides that would go with chili, cheese, sour cream, crackers, then cornbread, then we went south from there. Yeah. And we started talking about cornbread. How cornbread, we had this on our other show before. Once again, it came back up again, that cornbread is sweet cornbread is a muffin.
Well, so upon further investigation, I have discovered that down here in Texas, they don't make their cornbread with buttermilk. Yes. And that is something that one of the VFW members, his family's also from Michigan. That's why he could pick up that must be where my family comes from because of the similar recipes recommendations I was putting out there. And he was also like, yeah, they don't do that down here. They're savages. They make that stuff with water. Like, no, you have to, like, cornbread has buttermilk inside of it.
Yes.
And it's just delicious. It's great. It makes it fluffy. It makes it great. And then you take said cornbread that you've cooked well on all three sides, making it nice and crisp because of that buttermilk that's in it. And you dip said cornbread into an actual cup of buttermilk, and that's how you eat it.
Now I've never heard of that. I've never heard of dipping cornbread inside buttermilk, but I could tell you that I'm probably one of the few Texans. If I do make cornbread, I use buttermilk.
Good.
I don't use water. If I don't have water, I use milk.
There was like 4 people there who was like, no, you just use water. And I'm like, you do not just use water.
And I use a crap load of butter. If I don't have buttermilk, I use milk and I melt it and mix it in together and stuff like that, right? Yeah. But there's also another type of cornbread called hot water cornbread, which hot water, man, hold on.
I'm listening.
The hot water cornbread is a staple in the Southern Black community.
Emotional damage.
I'm going to let you have that one. But I guarantee you, if my auntie makes you some hot water cornbread, you are going to fall in love.
Oh, because I have no doubt.
She makes the best hot water. And all hot water cornbread is, instead of putting it in the oven, you get a cast iron skillet, you butter that skillet up, right? Maybe a little oil, and you put the mix on top of the stove, and you make it like a pancake.
That's what my mom did.
That's hot water cornbread.
But with buttermilk.
You can do it with buttermilk.
What do you mean you can do it with buttermilk? So my mom had a cast iron special tray just for the cornbread. Yeah. And she would have this special recipe. It was made with like cornmeal, buttermilk, and a couple other things. Yeah. Mix it all up. And you pour it into these grooves that are in the tray that are shaped like ears of corn. Okay. And then you just put it back in the oven. And that's how you make it.
So we'll do everything on top of the stove.
Right.
How
the heat's...
And with hot water cornbread, if I'm not mistaken, I think you bring the water to a boil, and then you mix it inside the cornbread, and then you put it on your stove. So it's like you take a little ice cream scooper and you in each spot on the skillet, and you make like little cupcakes, but they're like, pancakes. So,
no, that sounds great. Yeah.
And they're actually really, really good. Like they go good with collard greens and stuff like that. I'm bringing.
So it's very similar to what my mom would do, except ours went into the oven. You just cook yours on top of the stove.
It's just a different method of cooking. Yeah. Same outcome, different method.
That sounds great. I would absolutely try that.
Yeah, it's really good. Now,
but because there's probably sugar in that cornbread, it's actually very similar to a pancake.
Touche. Levi, I'm going to give you that one. Look, folks, you're going to hear from me.
Levi
sugar
2,
does not
Chris
go on
0.
Sugar does not go on cornbread.
Ooh.
I'm saying it. Sugar does not go on cornbread unless
it's your auntie, right?
Unless you grew up with sugar in the cornbread.
Unless you grew up with it.
But like you said, going back to the buttermilk and cornbread, I never heard of that. And then another interesting topic came up: saltine crackers and milk.
Oh yeah.
Have
you ever tried it?
That.
Emotional
How is it emotionally damaging? Because you've never even heard of it.
Saltine crackers and milk.
Okay, so
there's no flavor in that.
There is. There's the
salt,
the butter, the crackers dissolving into the milk.
I would try it, but it seems
okay.
Really
so, oh man, you should have reminded me of this one.
Emotional damage.
So you take, like saltine crackers. They come in those long, skinny plastic tubes. Yeah. You open one of those up. You take the whole stack of crackers as is, slide it down into a glass cup.
What?
You crack it a little bit from the top and make them all loose a little bit. Pour milk in there. Get a spoon and you eat it out. It's great. My great grandfather taught that to me.
I think
also from Michigan.
I think when soon as we start doing our first cooking show for our Patreons, I think the first thing we're gonna do is buttermilk and cornbread.
Sure.
And saltine crackers and milk. That's the first thing.
That's the recipe of the episode, by the way, guys.
Well, this is one of the recipes. One of the recipes. That is. I'm not. That's
you just eat it out of a cup.
That is weird.
It is weird. I'm not saying it's not. I've never heard of anybody who's done this besides my family until we were at the actual VFW cook-off, and then one of the other guys was like, "Oh man, that's so Yankee." He's like, "My family does that." I'm like, "Where's your family from?" Michigan. That makes sense.
Yeah, but he told me when you walked off, he's like, "Thank God my dad did something right and moved my ass to Texas because he, out of all his kids, he's the only one that argues with them about the way that they eat the food up there." Mm-hmm. And it's like, "Dude, your dad is my dad." He's like, "Yeah, but my dad actually did it right and raised me in Texas because I do not like any of your guys' food."
Yeah, no, I have no doubt that the food, the recipes that I have, that the traditions that got passed on to me, those are just the cream of the crop. I can't imagine a whole lot of great food comes out of Michigan. Yeah. Thank God I was born in New Mexico where we have spice and good food.
Well, hold on. Isn't clam chowder one of those things from Michigan? Or is that like a Maine thing?
Maybe. I would assume that's a Maine New England thing.
Okay.
But a lot of New Englanders probably moved to Michigan, so
Yeah.
I don't know.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, we had fun at the chili cook-off. I wasn't part of any team there. I was just spectating, but I did hang around one of the teams, which my closest friends, which is Levi's girlfriend, Tiffany, Bama, and Karen. And the name of their team is called the Six Peaks. Mm-hmm. The reason why they're called the Six Peaks is because they're all women.
And there's 6 peaks.
And they have 6 peaks. We're just going to leave it at that. Right?
Yeah.
But I think they did really well. I think
they got 3rd overall with the chili.
I think her chili was really, really good.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't taste the other people's chili. I just tasted her chili and the people next to us. That's part of it. Only if you were part of the VFW, I taste their chili.
Right.
And I felt like her chili was really, 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 really good.
Her chili, I will have to say this. Of the chilies that I tried, Six Peaks chili was probably, in my opinion, the most authentic chili to what I grew up with.
Yeah, I
and people will be like, "Oh, I'm from Texas." Blah blah blah. Listen, I don't know what y'all think chili comes from, but it's like a cowboy meal.
Yeah,
and that stuff comes from cowboys. And where do cowboys? They're not in Texas. They're more like Kansas, Colorado, New Mexico. There are there are ranges in Texas. No one's denying that, but it's not a Texas unique thing, right? So I grew up just like an hour north of where Billy the Kid shot the sheriff and the deputy.
Billy
all right?
the Kid.
So what do y'all have here in Texas? The Alamo? That was so long ago.
We have the Alamo, and
that's not cowboy.
We'll talk about that next topic. I'm gonna do my research on that.
This whole argument with Tiffany and I started at the rodeo. She's just like, "Aren't you country?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm country, but like this is cowboy culture. That's totally different from country."
Yeah,
like I come from the backwoods in New Mexico. I've ridden horses. I've broken horses. Yeah. You know, I've been out on like the big double E ranches and stuff like that.
Yeah.
As a Boy Scout and whatnot. This rodeo is an athletic sport that has cowboy aesthetics attached to it, right?
Yeah.
So when you're out there in the sticks, what are you making in the chili pot around the campfire? Whatever you have. If you shot a deer, then it's venison meat. Yep. If you have beef, then it's beef.
I agree with you.
But if you have beans, you're throwing that in the chili pot, which now I'm come to think of it, pinto beans are dehydrated and dry in sacks. That's probably why they go in chili. Darn. I defeated myself with my own logic.
Well, Levi, I'm glad you came to the conclusion.
Thank you. My little rant about where chili comes from.
Pinto beans go in chili.
I disagree.
But look, I over a pinto bean and a kidney bean, I like kidney beans in my chili.
It's the texture,
and I think it's the texture thing, and also to me, it's more filling, and it's a little bit more tasteful.
Yeah. Save your pinto beans for your refried beans.
But yeah, so with that being said, it was a great cook-off. Like I said, 6 Peaks, they won 3rd place overall in chili.
Good job.
They did an outstanding job. Hat goes off to those women. Last year they won, I think it was second
overall, yeah.
Second place in chili, and they won 1st place, I think, in the Bloody Mary last year.
I don't know.
So they didn't quite come out like they wanted to, but like I said, it was all for fun. It was all for
the big thing of the whole cook-off is the chili.
Yeah, it's the chili, and it was for fun. And the people that won, they all donated it back to the VFW.
Yeah, because you get like a small prize, a cash pot, but they just donated it. Most of the people who won donated it all back to the VFW. So, but no, my girlfriend now has this cute little plaque that says 3rd place overall in the chili.
Nice. So, if you were at a chili cook-off, which you were, what kind of beer would you drink? On to the next topic. What kind of beer would you drink with a chili?
With a chili, man, I just don't think of a beer. Like an actual beer. Yeah. We're not talking like your big corporate light beers. We're talking like actual. Just give me a lager. I mean, it's a thick meal, so that would go. I think would pair well with a thick beer.
So part of our topic today, we're talking about beers and how beers pairs up with different meals. Mm-hmm. So with my research, I found out through websites, not what I believe, but what I guess common folks believe, is that beer, you could pretty much choose what you want to go with your meal, what beer you want to go with your meal. But they do have it broken down, and there's several types of different beers. You have your light lager, you have your wheat beers, you have your India pear ales, which is your IPAs, your dark lagers, your brown ales, your porters, and your stouts.
So I would probably pick either a light lager or a dark lager, but I don't think there's like any wrong choice with beer.
So, according to this website, with stews, would a hearty stew would a beef
chili?
Would a chili be a type of stew? I mean, kind of hearty, right?
Yeah, it's hearty. You got water in there. I mean, I wouldn't tell a Texan it's a stew, but I would say it would fall under similar category.
Similar category, right? So according to this, it would be a dark lager, which I could see that because you said it yourself. Yeah, that you probably would want like a stout or a lager, right?
Yeah, because you want your drinks to complement your food, right? So if you're having like a thick, meaty, heavy in the beans meal. What's going to pair well with that? A thick beer. A thick beer, and I agree. If you try to get like something that's too sugary or too light, and you try to pair that with the opposite of your food, I don't know, it might give you an upset stomach. It just might not taste good.
Yeah. So light lagers, they say light lagers. I guess that would be like your light beers. I guess.
No, I would think like a Budweiser would be a light lager, whereas a Guinness would probably be more like a dark lager or a stout.
Okay, and it says light lagers, spicy food, burgers, or salads. Okay, we're gonna go on to the next one. Wheat beers, spicy food or fluffy or fruity dessert. I'm sorry, I don't see drinking a beer with dessert. I don't know how that I want a cake or a cheesecake and give me a beer with it. I don't see that working any kind of way.
No, usually when you're thinking of dessert, you're thinking of like a sipping whiskey or something like that.
Whiskey,
yeah,
right?
That's what I would have with a dessert. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know about that one. Amber ales. Pizza, more so with your fried food, and maybe some of your barbecue, like smoked pork. Sure. And then you have your dark lagers. Again, it goes back to the same thing: your pizza, your burgers, and your hearty stews. Yeah. So some of these have multiple. They work both ways. Sure. Right? Porters, you got your seafood, coffee flavored desserts. Once again, desserts is on.
Well, that's a coffee flavored dessert, so I could see the bitterness in the coffee matching well with a dark beer like a porter. Okay. I could see that happening. Okay. I can't think of any coffee flavored desserts off the top of my head, but yeah, I could see that happening because like the thing with coffee is it's bitter, right? Mm-hmm. And so the thing with a porter or a stout is they're also going to be a little bit extra bitter, and so they're going to complement each other.
Yeah. So with me, I think if I'm eating a steak.
You don't want to have like a sweet beer and then bite into a bitter dessert.
Yeah, so like you have some of these. I call them non-real man beer. Like a real man beer is anything without sugar. Like don't give me a smeared off.
No, those are seltzers.
Yeah. What's that other one like? So this beer is actually good. It's a Hefeweizen that they sell here at HEB. Mm-hmm. Not the real Hefeweizen, but they call it Hefeweizen. It's Oktoberfest beer, and it's made with grapefruit. It's really tasty.
Is that the one you gave me the other day in the can?
No, this one was in a bottle.
It was in a bottle. Okay.
Yeah, it was in the bottle. It's a real taste. It's really, really good. But I don't see that beer going well with a burger, barbecue, chili. I think that would go great with like some type of light meal.
Maybe a salad. Pizza. Salad, a pizza.
Seafood.
Seafood, yeah.
You know. So that's just me. It's a really good beer. So anything that have some type of flavor with it or acidity or citrus, probably stick with like more of your white meat, your fish, your seafood,
chicken,
and anything that's dark and heavy, stout, lager, will probably go good with like your red meat, your beef, or your hearty meals. And that's just me. I think.
That's just like if you're ordering it at a restaurant or something. Yeah. Obviously, if you're cooking this at your house, you already have your favorite beer in the fridge.
Yeah, and it goes back to that. If you have your favorite beer, that goes well with anything. Yeah, because it's your favorite beer. Yeah. One of my friends, they drink Coors Light. I'm not a fan with Coors. I'll have one or two.
Emotional damage.
I have emotional damage from that beer.
I'm not a fan of Coors. I'm a Dos Equis or a Heineken drinker.
Heineken's good.
But here's the thing. My favorite beer is the dark lager Heineken. And they don't sell that here in Texas. I actually have to go to Specs and order it.
Have you tried the Lone Star brand beer here in Texas?
I have. I'm not the regular light beer. It's pretty
not
tasty.
their like just their standard Lone Star beer.
Yeah, it's really.
Is it a light lager?
I think it's a light lager.
Okay.
It's pretty tasty.
It is good.
It's pretty tasty. But this Heineken beer that I was telling you about goes back to what you were saying. It's actually a real bitter beer. Mm-hmm. And you said something about a bitter beer going well with
other bitter foods or other dark or heavier substances, like a steak. If I'm going to eat a steak, I want a more hoppy flavored bitter beer. Okay. If I'm going to eat something that doesn't have a whole lot of flavor, not flavor, but that doesn't have like that heavy of a flavor, like a salad or like a chicken or like a turkey, then I might get a lighter beer.
Yeah.
But like if I'm going to eat like a hearty, heavy meal, I want something with strong taste going along with it.
Yeah, and
that way they just complement each other with that. I don't want to drink a light beer and a steak.
Yes, I agree with you 100%, man. These darker beers are definitely tasty, and I've noticed that these darker beers, they're a whole lot stronger, man.
Yeah.
I had a beer from Brew Dogs, and it's a dark stout, and I couldn't even finish the beer.
Yeah.
And I ate it. I bought that beer to eat with my steak, and it was the best tasting thing ever. It went so well together, and I was so upset because I finished my steak, but I could not finish my beer. And this is how the story went. I was eating my steak, drinking my beer, and I put my beer in my beer stein, and I drank half of it, and then I had to go to the car to get something out of the car. So I'm like, hey, I'm gonna drink my beer. So I walk downstairs, go out the door, and I start walking down my stairs. Halfway down the stairs, I was like, whoa, what is going on here? I immediately caught the strongest buzz I've ever had in a while off of one beer. I get to my car, next thing I know, by the time I come back, I'm staggering. I'm like, what the heck is going on here? And I looked at the beer, and I took one more sip of it. I was like,
what was it, like 11% or something?
Dude, it was like 17% alcohol,
Jeez,
bro. Like,
and
I looked at it and I was like, oh man, I hate to do this. I hate to pour out this beer, but I can't do it. And I looked at it and I threw it on my shoulder.
If you think about it, right, that's like 3 Coors Lights because they're only like 5.1%.
Yeah.
It's mostly water you're drinking.
But it was really good, and it went well with my steak. And
that's good.
And I purposely bought a steak just to drink with that beer.
I forget what beer we tried recently this week. They had like 7% or whatever.
Oh, was it the one that I bought, the 4.6s beer?
I think it might have been. Yeah,
the 4.6s beer.
It might have been. I think I had like 1.5 of those, and I was like, "Oh crap! I have to drive after this."
Yeah,
like normally I can drink at least 3 beers and still drive just fine. But
I remember.
I'm like a big. I sound skinny on the microphone. I'm actually probably just a little bit less heavy than Chris. Just carry it better.
Yeah, I think that was when we had your bonfire, and I brought the 4.6s beer, and I didn't finish drinking it, and then
a different time. It was when we were meeting up at Lee's.
Yeah. So I had to say I didn't finish drinking it. So
right
when we got to Lee's, I still had 4 cans left. So I gave you one.
Right.
And I took one. I gave you another one. And I said, "Did you want another beer?" You was like, "I'm good.
I'm good. I got to drive, buddy."
So they were
no. Yeah. By the way, we didn't mention this in the intro, but you did come up to my house for a bonfire. You, Tiffany, and a couple other friends.
Yeah, I had fun, man. That was
his kids didn't know that I have like lightsabers and Nerf guns and Legos in my house, so they were all having a good time.
They had a blast, man. That was definitely a chill moment. I actually needed that a lot. It was very relaxing. We had the bonfire going. We had the music blasting. Like,
nice part about living out in the middle of nowhere, you can blast that music. There's no sound ordinances out there.
Then we tried to do some s'mores, and one kid decided to go back and forth for s'mores like 19 times.
That child.
Poor kid.
He was like, coming up to me all the time. He was like, "Hey, Levi, do you think if I could like make the s'more on the stick and then wrap this around, I could make a torch?" I'm like, buddy, keep the fire in the fire, please. Fire,
right? And he
know how far away the fire department is from where I live?
I've never seen a freaking marshmallow so black. It was blacker than my microphone that we're talking on right now.
No. I like to, last thing before we end the episode, I like to slowly cook my marshmallows. I like to get that nice, tender brown all the way around. Cook it slow there by the coals, because that way it's going to cook all the way up through the marshmallow. No, this kid's sticking the marshmallow in the fire, which I probably did when I was 7 years old. setting it on fire and running around with it.
Yeah.
On fire.
Yeah, no, so I seen this kid look at it. It's black, it's blacker than black. Right?
Yeah.
It looked like somebody under the bed. And then he sticks it right back in the fire. I'm like,
he cooked it so much it melted and fell off the stick.
I'm like, dude, I was like, man, you can't get it any blacker than that. Like, how black do you want it?
I think the kid just loved fire, which is why they were all invited up to my house to play with fire. It's safer to play with fire at my house than it is to play with fire in the city.
They definitely had fun. So
wrong button.
So with that being said,
no, that is the right button. That's what that marshmallow was saying.
Right. That is hilarious, man. That's hilarious. So with that being said, man, we had a great time at the chili cook-off. Mm-hmm. We enjoyed the food there. And once again, next year, I think I'm actually going to participate next year. I say this every year, and every year I participate.
We will be participating next year. But Inside the Lunchbox is going to have our chili and our beans at the cook-off next year. We're taking first place.
We're going to do that. But here, I was supposed to do it this year, but I didn't know what day I was going to have off. And I didn't know what day I had off until like Thursday, and I'm like, I can't do it, right? But we're going to do it next year. We're going to participate. Inside the Lunchbox is going to take it home for the chili and the beans. I don't know about the Bloody Mary. We had to find some of the women to do that for us.
I don't know how to make a Bloody Mary.
But we're definitely going to do that. Then we talked about your beers. But real quick before we go, let me give you guys a recipe.
Because apparently saltine crackers inside of a glass cup with milk poured on top is not the recipe of the episode.
Right. So look. So real quick, if we're gonna do a chili recipe, we could do that real quick. Let me see if I could think of a real quick chili recipe off the top of my head. Of course, you get your ground meat.
Yeah.
Get your onions, and this is how I start my chili off, and this is top secret, only for you guys in the podcast world. And I'm not giving you my secret ingredient, but I take the smoked bacon I can find, and I fry it. All right, and then I take my bell peppers and my onions, and I cut them up really fine, and I saute them with my onions, and inside the same smoky bacon fat, right? Then
inside the bacon pack.
The fat, the bacon grease.
Oh, bacon fat.
Yeah, I fry it inside that, and then I take my ground meat and I mix everything together and I ground it. I don't put any of my ingredients in there yet. And then I'll take the chili, my chili powder, and my cumin or camino, whatever you want to call it, and I use another seasoning which I'm not going to put on there yet. That'll be for my Patreon users. And I mix all that together, and then I take either a chicken stock or a beef stock, and I pour that in there to bring it up, to add the consistency of the juice and everything. And then I take ketchup, tomato paste, and I take a chopped or cut up tomatoes, whether it be in a can. I like it in the can because I don't have to worry about chopping it up, and I put that in there. And I mix everything up, and I simmer it down to a consistency, and then I taste it and see if it needs more camino or cumin or chili. And then if I want to add my beans, I add my beans after they're already cooked, seasoned, and flavored.
Okay, yeah.
So I cook, season, and flavor beans separately. Before I just don't cook my beans and pour the beans in there. No, I separately season my beans.
Right.
With also bacon, smoked bacon, a little bit of smoked, any type of smoked meat, like a smoked neck bone or a smoked turkey leg or turkey wing or whatever. And then I take that and I put that inside my chili after it's already cooked. And then I go ahead and start building up my flavors from there. One thing you do not put in chili is chocolate. If you put chocolate in the chili, it becomes a mole. Don't do it.
Yeah, don't do that. I'm raising a slight eyebrow at the ketchup and the chili, but that's
so here's the thing: if you're going to put tomato paste or you're going to put tomatoes in or tomato sauce, why not put ketchup? Right? It's the same thing. The only thing difference which people do, the reason why they put ketchup in chili is because they don't want to put sugar in it. So sugar is in ketchup.
Right.
It's like barbecue sauce. Barbecue sauce main ingredient is ketchup. It's because of the sugar. But anyway, that's your boy's chili.
Find out the secret ingredient.
If you want to know the secret ingredient, log on to our Patreon account Right now, we only have the first tier up, anywhere from $1 to $5. Donate to it, and we'll send you that recipe card on how Chef MaQ makes his chili. Until next time, make sure you follow us on TikTok, Facebook, and Instagram. I think that's all of them.
I think that's what we got. I know there's a TikTok because I was having an argument on TikTok with my girlfriend about whether or not mint chocolate chip is a valid ice cream flavor, and this Inside the Lunchbox got involved with it, so we'll see.
Hey, I like mint chocolate, just not with root beer. But beside the point, you guys have a great day. I love you guys. You guys are awesome. Love Levi. Let's go.
We out.